All right, welcome to today's podcast. I'm your host, Austin. We got Nick Cheadle. Sorry. How are you doing today, brother? I just want to thank you so much for coming on. You know, what is it? 11 o'clock your time in Australia right now, Sydney, Australia. I really appreciate you taking the time, brother.
No worries, man. Thank you very much for having me on. Look forward to chatting.
Yeah, man. No, so, dude, first and foremost, I want to really go over all your certifications, kind of your story. And just dude, you're creating such a massive movement right now. I mean, it's funny. I was looking at your new site, by the way, in the resume. I think you had one point where it's like 300,000. Now what you're at 500,000 followers on Instagram. It's growing by the minute. And the movement.
You're getting up there, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, dude. No, but first, mainly, dude, it's just amazing to see how real everything is, how authentic your content is, and, how it's really empowering a lot of people. I mean, throughout the comments and everything. But, I want to read off to everyone listening in, your certifications. I see you got a diploma in nutrition and health and coaching. Was the Institute of, what is that? Integrative Nutrition, was that?
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me know if there's any, if I pronounce anything wrong here. You have a certificate from what? Nutrition, was it Precision Nutrition?
That's it.
Level 1, level 4 in personal training, AIF, I think it is, master trainer, certified, and gym instructor, ASCA, strength and conditioning, level 1, punch fit boxing instructor, punch fit kickboxing instructor, EFI kettlebell instructor, TRX, qualified gravity training instructor. Dude, holy shit, you have a lot of
all those things aren't nearly as impressive as they sound, I can tell you now. More often than not, those things are just to make sure that I'm covered for when I'm actually training people. So it's nothing to write home about, I promise you.
It's all good, brother. Most importantly, man, you got 8 years of experience. That's, a lot of time under your belt, and you're very knowledgeable, based off your posts, if it fits your macros. I mean, obviously the results show you don't just talk the talk. You have an Optimum Nutrition sponsor, which is huge. Activewear online, Better Bodies, and, workout meals delivered sponsored athlete. I mean, dude, you got quite a resume. But, dude, I know, like you said, the certifications only mean so much. Obviously, like I said, you walk the walk as well. Explain your story though, Nick. I know when you first started out, you were what, 18 or so?
Yeah, something like that. 18, 19.
What do you mean, 26, 27 now? I think you are.
Yeah, I actually turn 27 next week.
Oh, happy early birthday. Yeah, dude. So, okay. So what was the catalyst? Why did you get into fitness? What made you want to get into the fitness world?
Man, to be honest, originally when I first began, I was just looking for a fairly reasonable paying job to do whilst I was at uni. And then somewhere along the lines, I guess the wires crossed and I became more interested in the training side of things than what I was studying at uni. And gradually over time, it's just sort of snowballed from there. And once I sort of started to take an interest in my own training and my own nutrition, I guess I really started to appreciate and enjoy the training and the coaching side of things as well. And as I said, man, it's just been it's been a massive snowball from there. Yeah, if you told me that this is where I'd be 8 years ago, man, I would have laughed. There's no chance I would have thought that it would ever turn into this, let alone that I'd still be personal training and still be coaching and still be involved with the whole sort of fitness and training thing.
Yeah, man. No, like you said, dude, it's amazing how you take action in one area and then it's just one after another. It's that domino, that snowball effect. And it's you build this massive movement, man. So I want to commend you for that again. So I know that looking at one of the things you had on your site, it was I want to know what really is, if you could phrase it down, what's your mantra, what's your philosophy on everything with training and nutrition?
I think the biggest aspect of any successful approach to training, approach to nutrition, and to a certain extent, life in general, is sustainability.
Yeah.
For me, certainly, as far as training and nutrition is concerned, if you can't see whatever it is you're doing or if you can't see yourself doing whatever it is you're doing for a long period of time, then chances are there's probably a better way of going about things. And the same goes with all areas of life, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If whatever it is you're doing isn't sustainable and isn't sort of possible to be done for a long period of time, then chances are it's probably not the ideal solution to whatever the problem is. So with that in mind, whenever I'm sort of looking at my own programming or whenever I'm working with a client, the goal has to be not just how can we create the best possible program, but one that also ties in with the client's schedule and the client's lifestyle preferences and really fits into their life rather than tells them how to lead it. And in that way, it's going to make things more possible from a long-term perspective for them to stick to. And we all know that results don't happen overnight. We aren't going to lose weight or get super shredded or pack on 20 pounds of muscle overnight. It takes time. And if you're not following a plan that's going to allow you to stick at it for that duration, then chances are you're not going to be able to. So for me, sustainability is probably the biggest aspect of it. I know it sort of sounds very holistic in its approach, but I think just by looking at the bigger picture and figuring out what is going to work best for you in an individual manner, while still remaining within the constraints of science is the best way to go about things. Yeah,
man, no, that's a sick answer. Like you just touched on that, the constraints of science. I really like how you take that scientific perspective, and it's go back and not just to talk about myself, but I used to compete as well, and I was on that super clean eating, dude, and I don't know how I actually came about finding you on social media. I joined your newsletter, I think it was, and then I saw your DUP program, and that it completely flipped my whole perspective on training. So I was like, you know what, I'll buy it, try it out. And dude, it's crazy. My strength went up. I started eating flexibly. So again, we're going to talk about it in a second, but going to that 80-20 law of 80% clean, 20% dirty, the junk foods. And dude, my physique, it took time, like you said, but it transformed. And I was able to actually not feel like I was a prisoner to my food. That's the biggest thing I think people, it's a problem with fitness is you have to eat clean, to expect this result, but it's really not the case. You've proven it firsthand and with your clients as well. And, so it's just amazing how diet, how it plays such a vital role, but it's also, you need to have such a sound diet in order to live that lifestyle, like you said. So, yeah, man.
Absolutely.
So what, expanding upon diet, what really is your philosophy on, again, if it fits your macros, obviously, I kind of said about the 80-20, but could you, add a thing to that you want to add?
Sure, man. If I'm perfectly honest, I much prefer the term flexible dieting. I think that takes into account a more sort of whole approach to nutrition rather than the simple philosophy of if it fits your macros.
Sure.
But what we've come to know, if it fits your macros for is obviously the ability to eat the foods that maybe you crave every so often without actually blowing your progress out of the water. For me, I tend to emphasize ensuring you're eating enough good nutrition in hitting your macros without having to necessarily worry about a certain ratio, say 80-20. I tell my clients to focus on eating enough sort of fruits and vegetables each day, making sure they're eating adequate fiber. And then from there, I really just encourage them to enjoy their diet. I find that most people that are new to flexible dieting will obviously push the boundaries initially in terms of how much junk food they can probably eat.
Yeah.
But typically I find that's, one of the best learning experiences in itself, because it's going to teach you, one, that you can't eat that stuff if you want, but two, it's also going to show you the effects that it can have on a whole variety of factors from, strength, performance, training intensity, right through to the effect it has on your hunger. Obviously, if you're eating, dedicating the majority of your carbs to Pop-Tarts all day, chances are you're probably not eating too many of them. So it's a real educational aspect behind flexible dieting. But so long as my clients are enjoying their diet, they're still focusing on getting enough good, let's say good nutrition, I'm more than happy to see them eat, what most would consider to be dirty foods every day if they want. I know me personally, particularly when I'm eating a little bit more food, when I'm in the sort of 300 to 400 to even 500 grams of carbs per day. I can tell you now, I'm eating something pretty filthy pretty much every day just to make sure I'm getting calories in. It's you know, at the end of the day, for me, it's got to be enjoyable, and
Yeah.
I get very little enjoyment from eating a whole bunch of rice or a whole bunch of sweet potato. On the occasion, absolutely, but man, I'm not going to sit there and chow down it because it's all I can eat. You know, I'd much rather hit a pizza or a burger or
Yeah.
something enjoyable and just get a side serving of veggies.
Yeah, man. No, and that's true, man. It's like you're touching upon like the bulking aspect. It's like you can only get so much fat through clean foods. It's like you have to get that flexible food in, you know, to hit. Because I think like, what'd you say, 400 or 500 grams of carbs? So your fat's probably at like 100 grams a day at least, right? Just to.
Yeah, I stick around there.
So what is your current, you know, split right now? Like, what are you like leaning down right now? Are you like bulking a little bit? Are you just like maintaining it? Like,
actually, man, I made the decision not too long ago to increase my calories and look at improving my lifestyle. To be honest, my physique goals, they're probably not in line with the traditional lifter. To be honest, you know, I've been doing this for quite some time now. I don't hold any realistic expectations of getting a whole lot bigger. You know, the longer you've been training, the harder it becomes to build more and more muscle. For me, mate, increasing my food is all about improving my lifestyle and having added flexibility in what I do. Up until that point, I've been fairly lean for quite some time, and I felt I was getting to a point where even though my diet was flexible through food choice, I felt quite restricted in the way that I was still able to eat. I had limited flexibility when it came to eating out or catching up with friends, and it just became a little bit of a. I mean, I guess I really started to not quite enjoy it as much. So for me at the moment, I've increased my calories, but more so that I can enjoy life a little bit more. And you may have seen on social media, I'm talking all about the lifestyle gains.
Yeah,
that's what I'm after at the moment.
this is the lifestyle bodybuilding, the ebook.
That's it.
Yeah, dude, that's sick. Yeah. So what's your total calories at now? Just out of curiosity.
To be honest, I don't deal in calories anymore, so I'm not quite sure.
It's true.
I'm at 250 grams of protein, 350 carb, and 100 fat, and then
Okay.
I'll add in like an extra day a week where I'm going up to sort of 450, 500 carb.
Nice. So like, what's your outlook on like carb cycling? Like, how do you feel about that? Or you try to keep it that fixed macro split?
No, I'm a huge fan of carb cycling for anything outside of trying to build muscle. I think carb cycling has huge benefits from a flexibility perspective. Largely, though, it just falls in line with personal preference. I'll speak to most of my clients and talk to them about how they like to live their life and if they need that added flexibility of maybe some higher calories on 1, 2, or 3 days a week, and how they prefer to eat. Some clients prefer to eat the same amount of calories every day. Others prefer to have that flexibility where maybe they want a day on the weekend that they can eat a few more calories so they can go out for a few drinks or go out for a nice meal with their partner or whatever the case may be. But absolutely a huge fan of carb cycling, and that's why I include it myself. You know, I like having the option 1 day a week of being able to go out and go, you know what, I can eat pretty much whatever I want today. Still fit it in my macros. Now, maybe that's, maybe I'm fortunate in the fact that I can eat a little bit more than most, but at the same time, having a few extra calories on 1 day of the week or 2 days of the week just gives you that freedom to eat some foods that you might not be able to eat on a daily basis if your intake was the same each day.
Yeah, man. No, that's so true. It's like the more, it's cool about like when you lift too, the more muscle you have over time, you can get away with eating more calories and stuff. So, yeah, man, that's good. So, transitioning into like, training now, like obviously I was telling you earlier, the DUP, big on that. You're big on the hypertrophy with the power training as well. So it's kind of like your week, tends to be like the power in the beginning, correct me if I'm wrong, and like the hypertrophy toward the end of the week, or is it kind of like a mixture?
Typically it's a mixture. If you're going to incorporate, multiple rep ranges throughout the day, I tend to definitely hit your heavier movements towards the start of the workout when you're more fresh. But typically, as you mentioned, DUP and the strength training that I do involves operating through a wide variety of rep ranges in order to assist with increasing volume over time without feeling like you've ever been hit by a truck, in short.
Yeah, the CNS fatigue and stuff.
Absolutely. The benefit of daily undulating periodization, which is the email course that I put out, and you mentioned you checked it out. The benefit of that is rather than looking at volume in terms of one session, hitting chest for one session, you're looking at volume on a much broader spectrum. You're looking at it on a weekly or a monthly or even a yearly basis, and considering the training that you are doing as if you're just donating a couple of bucks here and there to a savings account. Over time, that savings account is going to add up, and even though that you might walk out of the gym without feeling like you've absolutely destroyed or blasted one muscle group, over time that volume is going to consistently add up, and without actually feeling like you're so sore you can't train, chances are that volume is going to increase far more rapidly over time.
Yeah, man. Just like you said, that frequency, the compound effect of that, little by little, that adding up over time, just like the savings account. I think that's a good metaphor, and it's like, it's crazy because I think it was like for 4 years, I was like lifting super hard. And I used to be sore. I would do like, the single body part. My chest would be sore for like typical, a magazine workout. My chest would be sore for like 4 or 5 days. And I wonder why my bench couldn't go up. It would actually like plummet down and eat all these calories. So in the whole time, like you said, it's like the CNS fatigue, that central nervous system can only take so much. And it's just amazing, dude. It's really amazing how actually less is more beneficial, is actually more. So that's cool, So again, like one thing I really liked is, and I think this is a very powerful thing a lot of people should know about, is that RPE scale I think you had in the program, where it was like rate perceived exertion. I think it's a good way for people to justify how much, like you said, like people really, one of the biggest questions I get asked as a coach too is like, how much should my intensity be during a set? How many reps should I have left, or when do I stop? And like, I think that's such a powerful thing, is that RPE scale. So, again, leading into like, the DUP, can you explain a little bit more about like what progressive overload is and like your perspective?
Sure, man. So if we consider volume to be the underlying force behind making progress, or, getting stronger, getting bigger, building and retaining muscle mass, we're talking weight times sets times reps. So basically all we're talking about is increasing that over time, progressively overloading or progressively adding more resistance to the workload that you're getting through. So essentially just making your muscles work harder and harder over time and forcing them to grow and adapt to a new environment.
Yeah, man. And that's like, it's crazy. It's like that's with everyday life. It's in a way, it's like the more you step outside your comfort zone, it's like you gain a higher sense of confidence, and it's like the same principle applying to like with fitness and the progressive overload. It's like the more weight you add each set, you're going to come back stronger, you're going to be tougher, you're going to be able to put more weight up. So I think that's a very, interesting principle. A lot of people will go into the gym and the ego will get to them. They're like, oh shit, I'm going to throw on, let's add 50 pounds here, rather than just going a little bit by little bit, 5-10 pounds. So yeah, man, absolutely. So one more thing about training, what's your like, I know you're not too huge from what I've seen, I guess, on cardio, right? Is like, you're not, like what's your take on high intensity interval training? Like a little bit of like hit cardio, adding it in like sprints or something per week.
Well, I think for the most part, if cardio is necessary, it should probably fall in line with personal preference. I've got clients that despise interval training or experience relatively high levels of anxiety as a consequence of doing it. So typically I tend to tell them to stay away from that and look at more steady state style options. I'm not a huge fan of cardio. That's no secret.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it any less essential at times. Some people might be lucky enough to be able to get away without doing any cardio and getting as lean as they want to be. But from my experience, most people will need to perform a certain level of cardio based on how lean they want to get.
Yeah.
I always try to take a minimalistic approach. The more calories you can burn through the process of building and maintaining strength, the better, in my opinion. It's going to have a far better impact long term.
You there?
cardio. Plus, I tend to find that most people don't really enjoy that as much as lifting. So I always try and start out as low as possible in terms of the cardio volume, and only really add if absolutely necessary.
Yeah, man. No, absolutely. I that's my approach too, is like, I only try to limit it to like 1 to 2 times a week, depending on how, if I go out, if I get a little bit too flexible as well. So,
yeah, it's a way of reining things back in, or assisting with sort of manipulating the energy balance for the day or the week. Yeah, absolutely. If you've got a big meal planned, or you end up overeating at one point, you can always add a little bit of cardio in on the occasion to sort of even up the scale.
even it up. Yeah, man. Absolutely. So, one last thing is I want to ask you, actually two more questions, but, what's one thing, if you could recommend, like, let's say a guy who's 5'10", we'll say he's 200 pounds, 20% body fat. What's the first thing he should do, in order to, because you don't want to take too many steps at once. You don't want to overwhelm yourself. Like, what's one thing he should focus on right now to change his, body, change his physique?
Dude, we're all individuals. I think it's really going to come down to personal preference to begin with. I guess more often than not, if you're at that level of body fat, chances are most people at that point would want to begin by dieting. Typically, the advantage there is that typically you can see progress as far as dieting is concerned much more quickly than you can see progress, as far as muscle growth is concerned.
Yeah.
Building muscle takes a long time. Getting leaner tends not to take as long. So if they're looking to begin, I'd typically suggest getting to a point where they're feeling comfortable with their appearance, and then looking at adding slowly from there. I think the biggest thing for anybody just starting out, though, is consistency, just getting into a consistent routine. Even if it isn't the best possible routine out there, the perfect plan is not even close to being perfect if the person trying to follow it can't stick to it. So
Yeah.
if anyone starting out, just trying to remove any doubt from your mind, and at least at the very least just get stuck into something consistently and stick with it.
Yeah, man. No, it's crazy you say it, because I saw actually not too long ago this quote. It was like, I think it goes, if you're persistent, you'll get it. If you're consistent, you'll keep it. And it's like, that's so freaking true, because there's like so many people that it's like, yeah, I want, when I get that body, I'm just going to like stop, doing everything I'm doing, stop working out, stop eating well. And it's like, you wouldn't go to work and just be like, make a ton of money and be like, all right, I'm done. Let's just, I'm just going to kick back and relax. And like you eventually your body would, it would degenerate. You wouldn't, grow. You wouldn't continue to grow and become better. So
Absolutely.
essentially it's the same thing, man. So, but yeah, man, I want to know, like, where can everyone reach out to you? Actually, first and foremost, I want to acknowledge you again, kind of transition to a wrap up right now. I want to acknowledge you again for coming on, Nick. I really appreciate your time.
No worries, man. I'm happy to
Yeah, man. I know. I know it's like 14 hours ahead out there. It's bright daylight. It's black, dark out here. But yeah, man. Like, where can everyone go right now if they want to check your stuff out? Like, what's the number one source? Your Instagram, or where should they check you out?
Yeah, I think Instagram or Facebook is probably the number one port of call. So that's just Nick Cheadle Fitness on both. Obviously, one word on Instagram, 3 words on Facebook. You can also sign up for my free newsletter, which is just nickcheadlefitness.com. If you go to my website, which has just recently launched over the last couple of days, there should be an automatic pop-up for you guys to sign up. You get a free 10-part email series upon doing so, and I promise I don't ever spam anybody, and you can always unsubscribe at any time if you find me too annoying. Yeah, outside of that, more than contactable via email or anything like that. You guys can grab all that information on my Instagram, same with my Snapchat and all that sort of stuff. So more than readily available should you guys need anything.
Yeah, man, no, absolutely. I mean, just to add to that, your website, dude, looking pretty sick now. I like it, the new facelift. So, but yeah, what's actually one more thing? What is, if you want to, what's like your number one ebook we were talking about earlier? Was it the lifestyle power build, or the bodybuilding?
Yeah. So Lifestyle Power Building was the last ebook that I released. probably about 6 months or so ago now. Maybe not quite that long ago. So that is the first ebook I've released in addition to the DUP email course.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess the most exciting aspect of my business at the moment is that I have a new ebook in the works that is covering flexible dieting or flexible nutrition on a broader spectrum, on a pretty informative note. So that is going to be dropping within the next week or two. I've been fortunate enough to get Alan Aragon to actually write a foreword for me. So it's sort of been guru approved, and it's going to be hopefully it's going to be a big launch. It should sort of help to clear up a lot of myths and essentially facilitate the process of dieting and all things nutrition for everybody from the basic lifter to the more advanced athlete.
Nice, man. That's awesome. So one more final question. If you can narrow it down to Nick, I want to know what is your superpower and how is it positively changing the world?
What is my superpower?
Yeah.
My superpower. I don't know. I feel pretty lucky to have a fair few people sort of following along and, looking in on what I do. So I guess I feel like a little bit of a, in a powerful position, at least, to be able to broadcast to such a wide audience. So I guess with that in mind, I always try and think of doing things as responsibly as possible. I think in today's day and age, particularly considering the amount of people out there that have such large followings, it's very easy to get, lost in the crowd. It's very easy to pick up the wrong information. So I guess I try to make sure that my superpower is feeding out everybody the right stuff, because I remember how difficult it was when I first started, how many bits of conflicting information that I came across. So if I can look at sort of building an information library on my website and helping people with that transition from I have no idea what to do with to I know exactly how to do everything that I need to, then I want to be able to do that.
Yeah, man. Awesome answer, man. Yeah. I just want to acknowledge you again, dude. It's like this massive movement you created, you stayed super humble, and just, it's so authentic, so rich, so real, the content you give.
Thanks,
like
man.
you said, I think it's really easy, to have, I've personally seen it on Instagram where people have high followings and they get lost in it, and it's all this status. And I think, it's really sick how you've maintained such a, authentic state, and you're helping people as you do so. So, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate all you do for people. So
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that.
awesome, man. Take care.
Thanks for having me on, man.